How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to talk about some Riftbound related news coming out of China. Now, normally I don't make any Riftbound meta discussions, but as I grow with the game, I think it's beneficial to have these kind of conversations because it just opens up a discussion for players to talk about cards and talk about what legends are doing what, and just, in my opinion, helps everybody improve. So today, scrolling through Twitter as one does through the Riftbound, the new trending Riftbound information, I found out that on the 5th of May in China, the city challenges that China does, there was one in Nanjing, the Nanjing City Challenge, and normally the past couple weeks with the Unleashed set, like, we've seen it back and forth. We've seen Lilia winning, LeBlanc winning, Master Yi, obviously, Aurelia is still there, Diana seeing some success, but we haven't seen something as interesting as this one. But in the city challenge of 117 players, we are actually seeing 2 Leonas make top 8 in this tournament, which, even though China isn't a complete mirror of NA, a Leona getting any placement this high in any tournament is crazy, just because of how she has been the past 2 sets. And it's so interesting to me because everyone has been suspecting that Leona might see a bit more of a spike this set, just due to all of the stun support she's gotten. With cards this set like Back Off, that not only can you hide, but they do stun an enemy unit, and if you play it from your hand, you draw 1. So it's more green draw for Leona if you're playing it from hand. It's a hidden card that you can play in Leona, and you can stun on top of all the other stun cards we have. So it is really interesting to see Leona with these placements. But that being said, is Leona better or placing better because of stun? Well, in the 7th place list, it does look like a pretty standard Leona. We're obviously running the Determined Leona in the Chosen Champion slot, which is pretty normal, with a new Unleashed edition being Carry On Dredger that gives you that death knell of playing a bird token to base on its death. It's a 2/1. The Scuttle Crab, which is a must include now in green decks. It's a 2 cost that can conquer, that can give you a draw, and when it dies, you get to see the entire hand of your opponent. So obviously a new addition, and obviously an auto include in something like Leona. We're seeing Vex Mocking, which doesn't actually stun anything, but it does play very well into things like Leona. Because if those of you who aren't aware, Leona, the legend, when you stun an enemy, when you stun 1 or more enemy units, you get to buff a friendly unit. And so when things like Vex Mocking end up stunning something, not only do you get the legend proc, but Vex Mocking, when you stun an enemy units at a battlefield, you may move me to that battlefield. So basically just a 5 might unit slamming into you on top of you being stunned if the stun goes off and doesn't get countered. That being said, Vi Peacemaker, Ambush, which is already off the get-go a great mechanic going into Unleashed that can completely change the way showdowns are happening, because you have to worry about not only your opponent having so much energy up, having so many runes up for spells, but also now for units, which wasn't too much of a problem before in Spirit Forged and in Origins. But it has Ambush, 5 cost, 1 recycle for 5 might, and when I attack, stun an enemy unit here. So you have to worry about running 3 Vi Peacemakers in a Leona, getting the stun off if there's Vex on another battlefield. If there's Vex in a base, Vex is moving forward on top of you being stunned. So pretty scary stuff to have to worry about. And then we have Mage Seeker Warden, which has seen some play in Leona before, I believe. Not a super popular card. This is definitely off meta. I've seen people run this against Ornn when I'm in the battlefield. Opponents can only play units at their base. That's not probably why this deck is doing good. But moving on, we have the Vilema, which is another great card coming out of Unleashed. If you're looking at probably the top 10, top 15 cards in Unleashed, I'd say Vilema is probably in that range. You can make the argument that maybe it's not, because there's so many good cards in this set, but definitely top 15 for sure. And then we're seeing a new Unleashed edition being Honey Fruit. The new Unleashed edition being Honey Fruits. When you play it, it's a 2 cost. It enters exhausted, unfortunately, but after that you can tap it to add power. So it's basically just a seal of any color, except obviously you can only play it in green decks, but it gives you power for anything. Level 6, and then it gives you a power and 1. It doesn't seem like this Leona is building any sort of XP really. Besides the fact that scuttles die and give XP, there is no real XP engine here, so that level 6 is never going to be hit. They're just using it for the power, which makes sense. It's a more affordable seal, and if you can run it in green, run it. That being said, we have things like Charm, Defy, Discipline, Emperor's Divide, Hidden Blade, Back Off, Call to Glory, and the Zenith Blade signature spell. None of this is any different than something we've seen before. These are all older cards, but we're looking into the units, all pretty much new Unleashed units that are helping Leona get off the ground, which everyone has been theory crafting about for the past few weeks since the reveals have started. Moving on to the 8th place list, we are looking at another Leona running Leona Determined, same with a Scuttle Crab. We're still seeing the Vi Peacekeepers, except just one less of, and then we're also seeing Viamod just one more of, so they wanted to do that. The difference being Sona is here. Sona, if you're not familiar, when you play to a battlefield, you get to ready for runes at the end of your turn, so if you're basically just playing this at the end of your turn immediately to a battlefield you control, you just send 4 back up, can completely throw opponents off, especially if you have a lot of counter spells in hand. And we have something like Tiana Crown Guard, which when I'm in a battlefield, opponents can't score points. So another solid epic that doesn't see too much play, but definitely does see play in stuff like Leona sometimes. I also have seen it in Ornn passingly. Nothing too crazy. Then we're still seeing Honey Fruit being ran. And then everything else seems pretty normal, except I also think I missed this on the last one, but Back Off, which we talked about at the beginning of the video, more stun support. It's a hidden card that can stun, and it can be played from your hand and give you a draw to also stun. So more Leona support. But these cards that everyone has been theory crafting about do seem to be giving Leona a bit of a boost. And I'm not gonna say and hype up Leona like go buy your Leonas now. Leona's taking a regional. Take your Leona to summoner skirmishes, which one if you want to do, go ahead. But like don't expect Leona to start taking over your Nexus Knights or your summoner skirmishes. This is just, in my opinion, a flash in the bottle for Leona, but it is fun nonetheless to see Leona get not just one top 8, but 2 top 8s in the same city challenge, which is so interesting. I wonder what it was like for those 2 players just seeing each other like, oh yes, like we're both playing Lilia in the city challenge, and we somehow both made top 8 out of the 117 players. That's interesting to see. But aside from all that yapping, I really want to leave you with the question, how do you think Leona is going to fare into set 3? Do you think she's going to be super strong? Do you think she's definitely underrated? Or do you think she's going to kind of just stick about where she was in the first 2 sets? In my opinion, I think she's going to be slightly better than she was the last 2 sets just because of the support she's gotten. But I don't see this Legends like taking up a much larger portion of the meta share than she was in the past couple sets. Just because of how how niche her stunning is. That being said, if you did like this video and you want to see me talk about the meta more, or talk about different tournaments going on inside of China or even in the US once we start getting support for Unleashed come Friday, which is in a day, which is tomorrow. So anybody out there tomorrow opening up packs, picking up your booster boxes, starting to build your decks, I wish you the best of luck, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.